As I put in the description, that's Osage orange, and it's just a really heavy, dense wood. I mean, this isn't heavy like, 170 pounds can't lift heavy, but comparatively speaking, that log is a lot heavier than other logs its size. So it's just real dense and heavy, but it actually splits pretty easy, surprisingly easy for as hard of a wood as it is. Okay, this piece here is an example of a piece that is just not 16 inches. I don't know what that is, 13 inches or something, but I'm pretty sure I remembered putting that in the truck. A piece like that, I fit in the truck when there's just a perfect size hole for it. And I mean, I like to maximize my load as much as I can. So if I've got like around the wheel well in my truck bed or something, a little tiny, just a little cube of space, I'll look for a little log like that that just fits right in there perfect like a puzzle. I just can't resist doing it. I mean, it's wasted space, it's burnable wood. And again, my pieces are not 16 inches at all. I'm looking into getting a measuring stick of some kind or making one, but at the same time, it's just the way that it is kind of with this wood. I don't know if it's all going to be perfect. It's kind of annoying from the standpoint of I think some people like to have perfect 16-inch wood, and it also stacks better if everything is perfectly uniform. It's much harder to stack and keep your stacks from falling over if you have all these little odds and ends, and like in the middle of your wood pile you have 12 and 13 and 10-inch pieces. Everything kind of shifts around, it doesn't stack evenly and stuff. So from that point, it's kind of annoying, but it's also, like I said, it's wasted space if you leave like all these little gaps, these little air bubbles in your truck bed when you're filling in your truck. So I don't really know the answer. I'm gonna maybe try to do a little bit better at 16 inches, and if I feel like spending the money on a measuring stick, I might order one, because they're also a little bit of money to make one. I mean, just the magnets are like $9, and then you got to spend a few dollars on some type of steel threaded rod to put on it or whatever. So you're still looking at 12 or $13. The measuring sticks run from 19 to $30 or something. So, anyways, I don't know what the answer is. It doesn't bother me as far as burning the wood one bit, having off sizes, and it's a lot more work with the chainsaw, and it creates a lot of waste. I mean, so if you get perfect 16 inches, you have a ton of offcuts and cookies, whatever you want to call them, all laying around, and then you got to burn those anyways, so you're going to be burning offcuts. At least I will. Um, so it's just kind of the way it is with my wood. I do the best I can to get it into manageable firewood, but I don't know if I'm ever going to get it all perfect or not, because it's all just, like I said, all of these issues that I just said. Even if you cut it into 16 inches, then you're going to have a ton of offcuts that you're going to have to burn anyways. And I don't really sell a ton of firewood, and if I do, it'll just be to homeowners slash friends, buddies of mine, and I don't think they'll really care either. And when I think about it, when I buy firewood, and I bought it in the past from somebody, he doesn't have 16-inch pieces either. I mean, he sells it by the rick, and he brings in all kinds of massive chunks of wood and long wood, 20-inch pieces and shorter pieces. I mean, they're not unreasonably short. They're not under, 10 or 12 inches or anything, but they're not all perfect. And I never thought about complaining. I was always happy to have the wood, and it was always a happy time for me when he delivered the wood and getting a fresh wood pile. And I just kind of thought, hey, he brings a bunch of nice big, chunky stuff that burns hot and long in the fireplace, and it always got started. So I mean, it never bothered me at all. I never thought about complaining. I never really had wood that wouldn't burn, so this whole 16-inch thing is kind of overdone in my eyes as far as residential firewood. Now, if you were going to start a business and sell to other businesses, I mean, if you were selling to restaurants or something, they may get picky with you. I mean, the manager may get a little upset and may not use you again if you brought in a bunch of random off-cut, off-sizes, undersized pieces. I mean, you'd have to have a relationship with them and find out if that's going to bother them or not, because if you just dropped it all off, they may not be using you very long. So I thought about it from that point of view as well, and I'm just not doing that. That gets to where, I mean, you can see why larger firewood producers, they buy wood from logging companies and things and have it delivered by the truckload. Because if you're using tree service wood and you're trying to sell to restaurants, which is kind of the only way you could survive, especially in my market, this market's terrible for firewood. I've thought about it, and nobody burns around here in the summertime. There's regulations. I have all kinds of questions about this. I know I'm getting way off topic, but if you were to go camping in the summer, most people go to a state park, and to get admittance into a state park and bring your firewood, you have to have a receipt that shows that you bought it within the state of Kentucky. Now, this is my next question. I need to call the Department of Natural Resources or somebody, or the campgrounds, and find out what this means, because the information that I read online on their website basically says you just need a receipt that says you bought it within the state. So if you were a small business or a homeowner, or had a farm and you were selling firewood or something, could you just handwrite a receipt and give it to them and say they bought it in the state? Or does it have to be from a licensed firewood reseller that has a kiln and heats it to whatever? It's like you have to heat it for 60 minutes to 160 degrees or something to sterilize it and kill the insects. But from what I read also, there is nothing that says that. There's no regulations or licensed firewood sales. Or you don't have to have a special business license or do any of that with the kiln or anything. And the receipt thing to go into a state park just says it has to be bought within the state of Kentucky. So I have quite a bit of questions concerning all of this. If you were going to sell firewood, I mean, I'm not there yet, so it doesn't really bother me. I don't have a reason to do the research. But this is what the information says. If you go online and look, especially in the state of Kentucky, this is what it says. Now, you can gather firewood, I think, at some state parks around your campsite, but if you bring it into the campsite, you're supposed to have a receipt. And something else is they don't bring a firewood sniffing dog out when you check into campsites either. I've stayed at state parks around the country and in cabins and things, and nobody has ever even mentioned firewood to me. I mean, it's a standard check-in procedure. You go, you check in, you give them your credit card, and they give you a key to your room, and you go to your cabin. They don't have a firewood contract that you sign. So I don't know if some of them are driving around in golf carts at night, and if you have a fire burning, they ask you for a receipt. And then at that point, what are they going to do about it anyways? The wood's already there. The safest thing to do, honestly, I mean, in all honesty, the safest thing to do if you brought wood in and didn't have a receipt would be to burn it on the spot as quickly as possible. So what is the park ranger going to do anyways? He's going to confiscate your wood, load it into a truck, risk spilling spores and insect eggs and everything, load it in his truck, drive it all over the place into some dump or something, and track it all over the place while he's hauling it around. So the best thing to do would be to put it immediately in your campfire as close as possible and burn it to get rid of any invasive species or anything. So anyways, all of this stuff is crazy about the firewood market here. I don't understand all these questions, and I really kind of want answers to them just so I know and understand. But it's a tough market, and if you are a large firewood seller, like I was saying, and you start buying logs from logging companies, I mean, that's a big expense. A truckload of logs is at least $1,000. I mean, you're looking at $900 to $1,500 worth of money every time you buy logs, but that's the only way you can get species specific logs that you can cut into perfect 16-inch pieces and have them all uniform. And even then, you better know what you're doing, because if you have a restaurant, you better know just from the bark on the logs, and hopefully what the person driving the truck from the logging company can tell you, that this is oak, this is hickory, this is, birch or whatever, and separate it all. Because if you're selling to a barbecue company and you mix in Osage orange and they want hickory, they are not going to be happy with you. So it's a big deal. It's a big expense. It's really tough to hustle up that much business, especially in my part of the country. Like I said, my firewood guy, he doesn't charge extra for stacking. He doesn't charge extra for mileage. He's charging what I would consider reasonable prices. I mean, and this is who you're competing with. So it's not an easy market around here, I don't think at all. There's a lot to it, and you would really, really have to hustle and really get a bunch of wood and know what you're doing, and you'd have to have the clients to back. I mean, you're going to need at least $100 a day, 5 days a week, every day, all through April, May, June, July, August, September, a good 6 months of the year when nobody's buying wood.
Man, that smells amazing. I don't know what kind of evergreen that is. I don't think it's cedar. If you have any ideas, let me know. It smells fabulous. Oh man, that's really unique.
Around here, nobody buys wood in July.
Juniper, probably a decorative
and if they
yard
do,
tree.
like I just said, they're going camping, and they're going to probably be going to a state park somewhere where you're going to deal with the firewood restrictions that they have in place. And so I already talked about the restrictions and what it would take to comply with those. I don't know the answer right now. I think I might call somebody and ask, just because it's bugging me and I want to know how they regulate it. But for the most part, good luck finding somebody that's willing to spend $100 a day, 5 days a week or whatever, so you could make a modest living selling firewood. I mean, there's just not that many. I mean, finding them and getting them to come to you and buy the wood and having repeat business is a tough deal. And I mean, I looked at some of the firewood companies around town, and it's one of these businesses that some of them are listed on Google, but when you click on it, it says, domain available for sale or whatever. They're out of business. It's not a booming business. There's only like 2 or 3 companies in town, and they do have the kilns and stuff. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They're not even listed on the state website for firewood sales. If you go on and you look at the Department of Fish and Wildlife and read their camping regulations, the firewood people, you can click on a link. There's some website called Firebug whatever or some locator, and it has recommended firewood purchasing sites within the state of Kentucky. There's only like 3 companies, and it's Lowe's Hardware, the big box hardware store, and a couple others. I think they're also major brands. So it's like they refer you to Lowe's to buy bundled, heated, heat-treated firewood, and like 2 other companies that are probably large companies or gas station chains or something. The people in Louisville, and these people have kilns and they're heat treating the wood and everything. They're not even on the list. In my opinion, they're missing the boat. I mean, if I was selling firewood, I would want to be on that list. Even if it referred a few people a year to you, that could be repeat business. You could build it every year after. You want to be on that list. They're not even on it. I don't know what it takes to get on it. I don't know what it takes to be qualified for it. But I mean, this is all what I'm saying. Like Lowe's and stuff, I'm sure it's all kiln dried, heat treated, certified, you know, bug free firewood, and that's where you're supposed to have a receipt from. But on the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife page, they also reference homeowners and farm owners that are selling firewood that they should just, quote, be careful and tell their customers to not travel far with the wood and burn it within 50 miles of where they bought it and stuff. So it's not illegal, but they're not tracking it. Can you write a handwritten receipt and get into a state park with wood you bought from a farmer? I don't know. I mean, they're trying to control the spread of invasives, but you can see the challenges that are involved. So that was a lot of information and a long story, but I hope you find it interesting. And if I do end up making a phone call and trying to figure out more about this stuff, I will talk about it in another video. Well, you can see how much I'm sweating. It is hot out and we're having all these air quality alerts. I don't know if it's related to Canada this far down in the United States, but the air quality has been terrible the last few days. Like 188 on the scale, it's red, and it's sensitive groups stay inside, and just horrible air quality, and it's hot and it's really humid. And I just got really hungry in this video. You ever get so hungry you just almost like start shaking, and like you could just eat anything for like 20 minutes and then you feel better? That's how I'm feeling right now. It just hit me that I'm starving, and so I go ahead and hurry up and finish this up, and then I got to go in and eat real quick before I stack or do anything else, and just kind of manage my hunger a little bit. But that's what's going on in my head right now. I'm starving and I want to get done with this. Another interjection here. That log is the same kind of wood as that banana log that I was splitting in the previous videos. I can't remember where I'm at in my videos right now, but I think I showed in my last video that I tore that thing up in the splitter and got it all shredded up, and it's bone dry on the inside anyways. So I'm just going to burn it the way it is. And I think this is off the same tree. But it's the same type of deal, and it's also bone dry on the inside. There's no telling how long this wood has been sitting at the tree service dump. So it's pretty dry, and it could have been dead standing wood when they cut it anyways. That log right there I'm working on would probably burn just fine without even splitting it. But I am going ahead and wrestling with it because I'm taking it personal a little bit about getting it split. It's just some tough wood. I mean, it looks like oak to me. I'm not sure what it is, to be honest with you. But it is dry in the middle already, and it's going to get stacked and dried for another year, year and a half at least. So it'll be fine, but I mean, I could burn it like it is. It's just, I'm going to try to avoid that stuff in the future, unless it's burnable in rounds. It has no smell to it either. It's bone dry, doesn't smell, nothing. It's just a chunk of hardwood. So I'll be avoiding that if at all possible in the future when I am loading my truck, unless I can burn it whole.
All right, I gotta get something to eat before I do anything else.